Chapter 6: The Shadow of the Master. The workshop was still littered with the traces of last night's experiments. The breastplates glimmered faintly with runic traces, the rope lay coiled like a resting serpent, and Glick sat slumped over the table with heavy eyes. The system's warning echoed in his mind. Warning. Post-spiritual energy critically low. Excessive display of anomalies may attract unwanted attention. Glick rubbed his temples. He knew the truth of it even without the warning. This world was ruled by wizards, beings who pursued knowledge and power with merciless hunger. If word spread that a mere zero-ring apprentice could craft magical items without the backing of a tower, he would not survive. The white wizards would demand answers. The gray would probe and bargain. The black would simply kidnap me in the night. And even worse, nobles and royals would descend like vultures. The Goldbeer name would be devoured in the crossfire. No, he muttered aloud, voice low but firm. Glick Goldbeer must remain a minor noble and dabbler. Harmless, ambitious, perhaps, but unimpressive. He leaned back, staring at the ceiling beams. Which means, someone else must take the credit. Slowly, a smile curved across his lips. An alter ego, a mask to hide behind. A phantom master no one can touch. He stood, pacing the length of the workshop as the idea took form. Yes, a wandering master artificer and alchemist. A figure shrouded in mystery. One who lends his skill to the Goldbeer family in return for coin, rare herbs, or some vague debt of honor. The more he spoke it aloud, the clearer the shape became. He grabbed a quill and parchment, sketching as he muttered. Name, to be chosen later, foreign-sounding, exotic. Appearance, tall, cloaked, always veiled by illusion. Never seen without mask or hood. Personality, distant, eccentric, disdainful of politics. Only cares for crafting. Origin, claims to have wandered the southern deserts, the outer seas. No verifiable past. Connection to Goldbeer family. Friend of my late father, Glick whispered. Yes, a convenient excuse. A man who owed him a favor. He paused, staring down at the parchment. The character almost seemed alive already. This mask will shield me. Through it, I can flood the markets with items. If the towers inquire, I will bow and say, it is not my work, but that of my family's patron. A laugh escaped him, sharp, tired, but triumphant. That evening, he summoned Steward Hallwyn to the study. The old man arrived quickly, bowing as always. You sent for me, my lord. Yes. Glick gestured to the documents laid out on the table, sketches of armor, rope, and glowing notes. I have news. Our family has secured the aid of a master artificer and alchemist. Hallwyn's eyes widened. Master. Forgive me, my lord, but that is no small claim. Artificers of even minor renown are courted by kings and towers alike. How could? Because, Glick cut in smoothly, he is an old acquaintance of my late father. A man of reclusive habits who has little patience for politics. He seeks only resources and privacy. In exchange, he has agreed to channel his works through us. For now, he will remain unseen. But his creations will bear the Goldbeer crest. Hallwyn's mouth opened, then shut. His brow furrowed, suspicion warring with loyalty. And this master, his name? Glick's eyes flickered. He goes by Aurelius. The word slipped off his tongue with weight, drawn from half-forgotten Latin roots in his old world. Golden, eternal, a name fit for a phantom. Hallwyn bowed slowly. If this is true, my lord, then our fortunes will rise swiftly. But if it is false, his gaze hardened. You risk the wrath of the tower. Glick stepped forward, laying a hand on the steward's shoulder. His smile was calm, assured, even charming. Hallwyn, trust me, soon you will see the proof with your own eyes. That night, under candlelight, Glick sat before a bronze mirror. He whispered a weaving of illusion, shaping his features. His jaw grew sharper, his hair long and white, his eyes concealed by a faint shimmer. A hood of darkness wrapped around his shoulders. In the reflection, Glick Goldbeer was gone. In his place stood Master Aurelius, cloaked in shadow and mystery. He studied the figure, voice low and resonant as he rehearsed. I am Aurelius. The Goldbeer family is under my protection. My creations flow through their hands. Do not pry further. The mirror image bowed slightly, cloak shifting with an unnatural ripple. Glick's grin widened. Yes, that will do. The mask was ready. The Phantom Master had been born. The following week, word spread like wildfire through Rivermark. House Goldbeer had secured the patronage of a master artificer, an eccentric genius known only as Aurelius. Magical items began to appear under the Goldbeer crest. Self-cleaning armor, flame-resistant coats, tracking ropes that seemed alive. Merchants buzzed with gossip. Rivals cursed their luck. Nobles sniffed opportunity. And in the distant halls of the tower, whispers began to stir. But none knew the truth. None saw that behind the mask of Aurelius was only a single man, a zero-ring apprentice with a stolen alien system. And as Glick stood at the window of his estate, watching the merchants bow lower than before, his heart burned with a mixture of triumph and cold resolve. Let them believe in Aurelius. Let them bow to the mask. By the time they learn the truth, if they ever do, it will be too late. Chapter 7 Whispers in the Dark Phi Market. The path to the Dark Phi Market was not marked on any map. It wound through the twisted roots of the Phi Wood Forest, down into caverns where the air shimmered with faint illusions and the scent of mushrooms, ash, and blood clung to the stone. Even cloaked and hooded, Glick felt every step was a gamble. He walked with the confidence of a noble, but here that meant nothing. To the wrong eyes, he was prey. I must remember, I am not Glick Goldbeard tonight. I am Aurelius's proxy. The illusion he had prepared shimmered faintly over him, shifting his features into that of a gaunt middle-aged man with streaks of white hair and a scarred jaw. Not Aurelius himself, never revealed the phantom's face, but one of his agents. Enough to lend him authority while maintaining the mosque's mystique. At the cavern's mouth, 2 guards stood, grey wizards cloaked in patchwork robes, their eyes glowing faintly with enchantments. Name, one barked. I speak for Master Aurelius, Glick said, his voice deeper and harsher through the veil of illusion. Your market has wares he desires. The guards exchanged a glance. The name meant nothing to them, but the tone and illusion of confidence made them step aside. Enter. Keep your hands where they belong. And pay in coin or blood. The Dark Phi Market unfolded before him like a carnival of shadows. Lanterns burned with ghostly green flame. Stalls were carved into the cavern walls, draped with black cloth and hung with bones. Merchants whispered in tongues half forgotten, their goods ranging from bottled screams to cursed daggers, from jars of mummified Phi hearts to scrolls bound in human skin. Everywhere, eyes lingered on him, measuring, weighing, considering whether he was worth robbing or respecting. But Glick ignored them. His goal was clear: spells. The system hummed faintly in his mind, as though eager to feed. He found the spell sellers clustered in the heart of the market. Grey wizards hunched over cracked tomes, selling fragments of knowledge like gamblers hawking dice. Some offered apprentice cantrips etched into bone slips, others sold scrolls that glowed faintly with preserved mana. One vendor, a crooked old woman with too many teeth, crooned, looking for spells, traveler. Cheap, quick, and dangerous. A coin for every spark of knowledge, a favor for every true flame. Glick knelt before her wares. His eyes lit up as he spotted familiar symbols. Apprentice cantrips. The very foundation he needed. How much, he asked coolly, for these? He tapped a set of bone slips. The crone's grin widened. Depends which ones catch your eye. A chill to the bones. A bolt of flame. A whisper in the dark. Glick's fingers hovered, one by one. Chill touch. Blade ward. Message. Mending. Fire bolt. Light. Minor illusion. Shocking grasp. Thorn whip. True strike. Mage hand. Vicious mockery. Thaumaturgy. Shillelagh. Ray of frost. Poison spray. Eldritch blast. Dancing lights. Frostbite. Lightning lure. Green flame blade. Her grin grew impossibly wide, teeth glinting in the green lantern light. Ah, the full arsenal of an ambitious man. That many spells will cost you dearly, boy. Glick slid a pouch of gold onto the table with steady hands. Master Aurelius pays in full. The woman's eyes glittered with hunger as she swept up the pouch. She handed him the slips, each carved bone thrumming faintly with arcane resonance. Then may your soul survive their whispers. The system pulsed violently as he tucked the slips into his cloak. New spell essences detected. Recording. Spells added to module. Chill touch. Blade ward. Message. Mending. Fire bolt. Light. Minor illusion. Shocking grasp. Thorn whip. True strike. Mage hand. Vicious mockery. Thaumaturgy. Shillelagh. Ray of frost. Poison spray. Eldritch blast. Dancing lights. Frostbite. Lightning lure. Green flame blade. The flood of knowledge hit him like a tidal wave. He staggered, clutching the bone slips, as images of spectral hands, fiery bolts, laughing whispers, and spectral vines poured into his mind. His spiritual sea trembled under the weight. Warning. Host energy critically low. Integration delayed. Rest required. He grit his teeth, forcing himself to breathe steadily. So much knowledge. So much potential. With these, the spell merge module would no longer be starved. With these, he could build armors that resisted lightning, weapons that carried flames, ropes that whispered illusions, tools that mended themselves. The future of Aurelius, the Phantom Master, was secured. But as he turned to leave, a voice rasped behind him. Interesting, eh? Mere agent, walking away with half the apprentice arsenal of the tower. Glick froze. Slowly, he turned. A man stood cloaked in black, his hood casting his face into shadow. But his eyes glowed faintly, red, hungry. A black wizard. Tell me, stranger, the man hissed. Who is this Master Aurelius you serve? A recluse? A fraud? Or perhaps, the man's smile was jagged, predatory, a mask for something else. Glick's mind raced. Every instinct screamed danger. But his face remained calm, his voice steady. You ask too many questions, friend, he said. And questions have a price in the dark fi market. The black wizard chuckled low. Indeed they do. Perhaps I'll collect. Their gazes locked, tension like a drawn blade between them. Then, with deliberate calm, Glick turned and walked away. The black wizard did not follow, but his laughter echoed through the cavern like a curse. When Glick emerged from the caverns hours later, the night air of the Phi Wood felt almost pure. He clutched the satchel of bone slips tight, his heart pounding. He had won tonight, but the game had changed. The system whispered softly as he walked back toward his estate. Host progress. Spell arsenal. Expanded. Path to innovation unlocked. And Glick whispered back, voice low and determined. Let them suspect Aurelius. Let them pry. I will be ready. Chapter 8 Forging a Croaking Army. The sub-magic pen echoed with low, guttural croaks. Dozens of giant frogs shifted restlessly in their cages, their wide eyes glimmering in the torchlight. Glick stood at the center of the pen, cloak drawn tight around his shoulders. He had spent the previous day in bed, his body trembling from the flood of spell integrations. Now, the arsenal lay quietly in his mind, 21 new spells waiting to be tested. But tonight, he would not waste time. Tonight, he would prepare for war. Bandits. The Crimson Alliance was more than a nuisance. They were parasites feeding on trade routes, emboldened by the chaos of the borderlands. If he could crush them publicly, it would cement the Goldbeer name among merchants. And more importantly, it would provide him with battlefield data for the system. System, he murmured, resting a hand on the iron bars of a cage. Initiate spell merge. Target creature. Giant frog. Spell essence. Blade ward. The system pulsed. Merging. Base creature. Giant frog medium beast. Spell. Blade ward 0 ring. Compatibility. 74%. Energy cost. Low. Result. Successful. The frog croaked, its hide shimmering faintly. Patterns of translucent scales crawled across its body like spectral armor. New variant created. Blade ward frog. Passive ability. Damage from weapon attacks reduced by 50%. Active ability. Croak of protection. Allies within 10 feet gain minor resistance for 5 seconds. Glick's lips curved into a grin. An armored frog. Not bad. He moved to the next cage. System. Merge. Giant frog plus firebolt. The creature shuddered as heat rippled through its body. When it croaked, a puff of smoke escaped its mouth. A moment later, it spat a glowing ember that scorched the wall, leaving blackened stone. New variant created. Fire Spitter Frog. Attack. Hurls fire projectiles range 30 feet, damage equals firebolt equivalent. Side effect. Minor instability. Risk of overheating on repeated use. The air grew hot, acrid with burnt stone. Glick's eyes gleamed. Perfect for ranged harassment. Bandits won't know what hit them. One by one, he worked his way down the line of cages. Shocking Grasp plus Giant Frog. The frog's skin glistened with faint sparks, arcs of electricity crawling across its back. When Glick tossed a wooden stick into the cage, the frog leapt, its tongue lashed out, crackling with lightning. The stick burst into splinters. New variant. Thunder Tongue Frog. Effect. Tongue attacks deal lightning damage. On hit. Target is briefly paralyzed. Chill Touch plus Giant Frog. This one disturbed him. The frog's skin dulled to a pallid blue, frost clinging to its breath. When it lashed out with its tongue, the dummy froze on contact, ice spreading from the wound. New variant. Death Croak Frog. Effect. Tongue attack inflicts necrotic chill. Target suffers reduced healing. The frog's eyes glowed with unnatural cold. Glick shivered. Useful, but unsettling. Frostbite plus Giant Frog. The merge was smoother this time. The frog exhaled, and mist rolled from its maw. When it snapped at a bucket of water, frost spread across the liquid instantly, freezing it solid. New variant. Frost Breath Frog. Effect. Short-range cone of freezing air. Reduces enemy movement speed. Thorn Whip plus Giant Frog. The frog quivered, its tongue sprouting barbs of thorn like mana. When it lashed at a dummy, the spines dug deep and yanked the target backward, dragging it across the dirt. New variant. Hook Tongue Frog. Effect. Tongue drags target up to 10 feet. Piercing damage inflicted. Vicious Mockery plus Giant Frog. The system pulsed strangely this time. The frog's throat swelled, glowing faintly pink. When it croaked, the sound was wrong. Mocking, sharp, like laughter scraping at the edges of sanity. The nearby dummy vibrated as if the sound itself rattled its spirit. New variant. Mocking Frog. Effect. Croak inflicts minor psychic damage. Targets suffer disadvantage on next attack. Glick raised a brow. A frog that insults its enemies into weakness. Strange, but effective. Lightning Lure plus Giant Frog. The merge was violent. Sparks crackled, arcs of lightning splitting the air. The frog roared with unnatural volume, its tongue extending like a whip of thunder. It lashed out at a target dummy, lightning dragging the wooden figure closer before a bolt detonated on impact. New variant. Storm Lash Frog. Effect. Tongue acts as a lightning tether, pulling targets into melee range and shocking them. By the time he finished, sweat slicked his brow. His spiritual sea trembled from the effort, though not as violently as when he first began using the system. His tolerance was improving. Before him, 8 new variants croaked in eerie harmony. Blade Ward Frog. Armored Skin, Protection Croak. Fire Spitter Frog. Ranged fire projectiles. Thunder Tongue Frog. Paralyzing lightning strikes. Death Croak Frog. Necrotic Tongue, Healing Suppression. Frost Breath Frog. Cone of freezing mist. Hook Tongue Frog. Thorned tongue drags targets. Mocking Frog. Psychic Croak, weakens foes. Storm Lash Frog. Lightning Tether Tongue. A small army of living weapons. Glick straightened, pride swelling in his chest. With you, I will shatter those bandits. The frogs croaked, their strange new voices echoing through the sub-magic pen like a chorus of battle cries. The system chimed. Host progress. Combat assets created 8 variants. Host stat growth plus 3% affinity composite. Warning. Exposure risk increased. Conceal identity. Glick's eyes narrowed. Yes, Aurelius must claim these frogs as well. Let the world think them the work of a phantom master. He turned toward the night sky, the croaking army behind him. His lips curved into a dangerous smile. Bandits, pray to whatever false gods you keep. For when the Goldbeer family marches, you will not face men alone, you will face my creations. And in the silence that followed, the frogs croaked again, their twisted new voices sounding less like animals and more like the drums of war. Chapter 9 Divine Ring Holding of Beasts. The night was deep, the air sharp with the damp scent of moss and stone. In the workshop beneath Goldbeer Manor, Glick sat cross-legged before a table of reagents, his mind racing with calculations. The frogs were ready. His spell-fused beasts croaked with restless hunger, their new powers thrumming in the air. But there was one fatal problem. He had no way to carry them. Carts and cages would be far too obvious. To march into battle with wagons of croaking beasts would invite suspicion, questions, and, eventually, exposure. Worse, a single nosy wizard from the tower could confiscate them under some fabricated law. No, Glick whispered, his hand curling into a fist. I need a container. A space, a sanctuary. The system stirred. Host thought detected. Storage capability request. Warning. Number 0 ring spell meets requirement. Possible workaround. External anchors, scrolls, stones, and rings may serve as temporary matrices for recording spells above host level. Glick's eyes snapped open. You mean, I can cheat? Affirmative. External media allows bypassing stage restrictions. Efficiency reduced by 60%. Instability risk. Moderate. A slow grin spread across his face. So even the path of wizardry has loopholes. And I am the one who found them. The next day, under the guise of a merchant errand, Glick's steward procured several precious items from hidden channels. A space ring, small and unadorned, but humming with a sliver of dimensional magic. A beast-taming scroll, ancient ink etched with runes for binding and controlling creatures. A divine sanctuary scroll, a forbidden relic said to create protective domains that even adept wizards would hesitate to breach. When they were placed before him, Glick's hands trembled, not with fear, but anticipation. He activated the system. Record temporary spell matrices. Recording. Scroll essence absorbed. Beast taming 4th ring equivalent. Scroll essence absorbed. Divine sanctuary 7th ring equivalent. Artifact essence absorbed. Space ring third ring equivalent. Compatibility, 42%. Fusion path suggested. The system pulsed with alien light. Proposal, divine ring holding of beasts. Description, a space-type artifact capable of storing living creatures in stasis. Maintains spiritual tether through beast-taming essence. Sanctuary overlay prevents external probing. Capacity, 20 medium beasts expandable. Risk, height divine sanctuary essence unstable. Proceed. Glick's chest tightened. This was madness. A mere apprentice tampering with divine-level magic. If any tower wizard sensed even a fragment of the sanctuary essence, the Goldbeer family would be erased overnight. But his heart thundered with excitement. Proceed. The ritual began. 12 mana stones flared, forming a pentagonal array. The scrolls unraveled, their runes dissolving into streams of light. The space ring floated in the center, trembling as the two spells forced themselves into its silver frame. Cracks splintered across the table. Air warped, vibrating with the pull of another dimension. The beast-taming glyphs latched onto the ring, weaving chains of luminous script. Then, the divine sanctuary essence bled into the metal, a golden aura trying to swallow everything. Glick's veins burned. His spiritual sea howled under the pressure. He nearly collapsed, but the system's voice cut through the chaos. Stabilizing host soul link, redirecting 20% instability into merge stone residue. Containment achieved. The light dimmed. The ring clattered onto the table, perfectly whole. Fusion complete. Item created. Divine ring holding of beasts. Functions. Beast storage stasis, max capacity 20 medium units. Spiritual tether, direct control through beast taming essence. Sanctuary cloak, item masked from standard divination. Warning, using divine tier essence may attract attention if overexposed. Limit usage. Glick stared at the simple silver band, now glowing faintly with a golden shimmer. His reflection in its surface looked strange, half exhausted, half exhilarated. He slipped it onto his finger. At once, he felt the croaking chorus in the sub-magic pen shift. With a thought, 8 frogs shimmered and vanished from their cages, drawn into the ring. The silence that followed was deafening. Inside his mind, he could still feel them, 8 distinct presences, calm, dormant, waiting for his command. His lips curved upward. A hidden army, on my finger. The weight of his creation hit him all at once. Not only had he broken wizardry's rules, he had shattered them. He had taken divine essence and bent it into obedience, all while wearing the mask of a simple viscount. The bandits would never know what devoured them. And the wizards, they would never suspect until it was far too late. Chapter 10 Armed to the teeth. The clang of steel echoed in Goldbeer Manor's training yard. Rows of guards and militia stood under torchlight, their leather armor patched, their shields dented, their weapons dulled from years of wear. They were loyal men, but poorly equipped, merchants' guards, not soldiers. That would change. Tonight, Glick stood atop the stone platform, his cloak drawn tightly around him. His gaze swept over the assembly. Behind him, crates of newly forged equipment gleamed faintly with runes, still warm from his workshop. The guards straightened nervously. They had never seen their lord call them together at night, let alone with such solemnity. "My family," Glick began, his voice calm but resonant, "has survived through trade, coin, and wit. But coin alone will not shield us from the blades of bandits, or the schemes of nobles." He raised his hand. A glimmer of runes danced across his palm. "Therefore, I give you more than coin. I give you power." The forging. The day before, he had locked himself in the workshop, the system humming in his mind as he worked through his plans. System. Initiate equipment merge. Base. Guard armor set. Spell. Blade ward. Processing. Compatibility. 85%. Result. Blade ward armor. Reduces incoming physical damage by 25%. The armor gleamed faintly, its leather toughened by shimmering threads of warding magic. Next, the shields. System. Merge. Standard steel shield plus blade ward. Result. Blade ward shield on impact, projects ward barrier that absorbs first strike. Cooldown. 1 minute. Satisfied, he turned to the crossbows. System. Merge. Crossbow plus fire bolt. The weapon vibrated, the bowstring glowing faintly. When fired, a bolt ignited mid-flight, streaking like a comet before striking the target dummy. Flames licked across the straw man, reducing it to ash. Result. Fire bolt crossbow. Each bolt carries spell essence, dealing fire damage on impact. But fire was not enough. He thought of the original frog experiment, the corrosive power of acid. System. Merge. Crossbow plus acid splash. The bolt whistled through the air, striking another dummy. Acid erupted across its surface, hissing as it ate through straw and wood alike. Result: acid bolt crossbow. Each bolt explodes with corrosive acid. Armor reduction effect. Glick's smile deepened. Perfect for breaking defenses. For melee weapons, he reached for swords and spears. System: merge. Longsword plus shocking grasp. When he swung it, sparks leapt across the blade, humming with power. Result: stunning sword. Melee strikes deal lightning damage. On hit, chance to paralyze for 2 seconds. He repeated the process for spears. The training dummies had no chance. Split, burned, corroded, shocked. His workshop was a battlefield of destroyed targets. Finally, he turned to supplies. His men would bleed, and he had no desire to waste them. System: merge. Cloth bandage plus mending. The bandage pulsed with faint light. When wrapped around a shallow cut, the fibers knit themselves together, sealing the wound instantly. Result: mending bandage automatically repairs flesh and cloth up to minor injuries. One-time use. By dawn, crates of weapons and armor filled his workshop. A private army's worth of enchanted equipment. The revelation. Now, under torchlight, the crates were opened. The guards gasped as Glick's steward drew forth armor that shimmered faintly, shields that glowed, crossbows with runes etched along their limbs. This is wizardry," one guard whispered. "No, more," another murmured. It's a miracle." Glick raised a hand, silencing them. From this day, the Goldbeer Guard will no longer be dismissed as merchants, watchdogs. You will be warriors clad in magic. He gestured, and the steward began distributing the equipment. A veteran named Heron donned the blade ward armor first. At once, a ripple of warding energy shimmered over his body. He struck his chest with his fist, the sound ringing like iron. This is stronger than plate," he said, awe in his voice. Another guard tested the fire bolt. Crossbow. The bolt ignited mid-flight, striking a target with a blast of flame. The men shouted in astonishment, some even cheering. When a young recruit swung a stunning sword, the sparks lit up the night. He struck a practice dummy, lightning arced across it, leaving the straw blackened and smoking. Even the mending bandages stunned them. A man deliberately cut his palm to test it, then gasped as the glowing cloth sealed his flesh within moments. "Impossible," he muttered, his eyes wide. "Even the tower wizards don't sell things like this." Glick's expression remained composed, though pride burned in his chest. "Yes, kneel in awe. But never know the truth. Let Aurelius take the credit. Let the Phantom Master be the source of your reverence." Seeds of power. By the end of the night, his guard stood armed to the teeth. Rows of armored men gleamed under torchlight, weapons humming with spell essence. The militia that once looked like simple merchants now appeared as a small army, disciplined, enchanted, dangerous. Glick looked upon them and thought of the future. With such weapons, even rival nobles with pureblood wizard backers would hesitate to provoke him. And when the bandits saw these creations unleashed, terror would spread like wildfire. The system chimed softly in his mind. System notice. Equipment merge is complete. Combat assets enhanced. +3 2 units. Host progression bonus. +4% affinity composite. Warning. Risk of exposure elevated. Concealment protocol advised. He dismissed the warning with a smirk. Yes, exposure is a risk. But power is worth it. Raising his hand, he addressed his men one final time. From this day forth, you are no longer common guards. You are the Iron Fangs of the Goldbeer family. Together, we will hunt bandits, defend our lands, and carve our name into history. The men slammed their weapons against their shields in unison, the sound rolling like thunder. And in that moment, the Goldbeer household guard transformed, from mere protectors of merchants to a force of war, armed with the impossible.